The year was 2008. The Eyak language in Alaska became extinct when its last native speaker died. Bankrupt Aloha Airlines permanently ended passenger service, and Toshiba announced its formal recall of HD DVD, ending the format war with Sony's Blu-ray disc. New York Governor Eliot Spitzer resigned in the wake of a scandal involving a high-end prostitute. Bill Gates stepped down as chairman of Microsoft, and both Shea Stadium and the original Yankee Stadium in New York hosted their final games before being demolished. Though many things came to an end in 2008, a film was released about a small group of persecuted people who never called it quits in the face of overwhelming adversity. But Ryan never saw it. Until now. This is Movies I Missed 2008, Episode 1, Defiance.
I'm Jesse Munoz.
I'm Ryan Miller.
This is Movies I Missed 2008, Episode 1. Today we will be talking about the film Defiance, released December 31st, 2008, with a running time of 2 hours and 17 minutes. I want to give a warning that we will be discussing all aspects of this movie. That includes spoilers. Defiance is a 2008 war drama directed by Edward Zwick, starring Daniel Craig, Liev Schreiber, and Jamie Bell, based on Necma Tech's 1993 book Defiance, The Belsky Partisans. The film follows the Belsky brothers who escaped Nazi persecution in Eastern Europe during World War II. Hiding in the forests of Belarus, they form a community that shelters hundreds of Jewish refugees while carrying out attacks against German forces. As their numbers grow, the brothers face conflicts over survival, leadership, and how best to fight back.
We cannot lose anyone. We will map out where we have been, so as not to visit the same farms too often, and we will take only from those who can afford to give, and we will leave those who can't alone. Our revenge is to live.
The poorest farmer has more than us.
Quiet. But what I am saying is we are not thieves or murderers. We may be hunted like animals, but we will not become animals. We have all chosen this. To live here free like human beings for as long as we can. Every day of freedom is like an act of faith. And if we should die, trying to live, then at least we die like human beings.
A couple of plugs. Moviesimissed.com is our website. Our Instagram is @MoviesIMissedPodcast. Our YouTube is also @MoviesIMissedPodcast. And we are available anywhere you get podcasts. So subscribe if you can.
And you can.
You can. It's free. Right, we're back for season number 3, where we will be discussing the year 2008.
Yes.
2008 is kind of an interesting year for multiple reasons. I don't know about film-wise. It's so hard when choosing which movie year we're going to do. We started with 1999. I had listened to a podcast from The Ringer where they did a 1999 draft. And I was like, man, this is a really good year. And there's a bunch of stuff that I hadn't seen. And that sort of kicked the show off. And then for season 2, you made the choice to do 1985. I think because it was your birth year.
For all intents and purposes, randomly, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, pick any year, right? There's always going to be movies that we've missed. We just haven't seen them all. 2008 is interesting.
Not yet.
Because, someday. 2008 is an interesting year because there's a lot of big movies. I feel like the movies that we're going to be covering this season aren't as big, and maybe they haven't been in the past seasons as well. But The Dark Knight is a big one. Iron Man is a big one. Things like Tropic Thunder. There's just a lot of really big movies that came out in 2008 that we're not going to be discussing this year, just because we've already seen a lot of movies, and I was kind of concerned.
Sure they'll come up.
I'm sure they will. But we won't be cover them specifically on any episode. But it was a movie year where I was like, do we do 2008 because we've seen all the big stuff? And then I went through it. And of course, there's tons of stuff that we haven't seen, including today's movie, which is Defiance. So that's what we're going to be talking about. The reason I chose 2008, I guess I'll just say here is it's a special year for me. The year that Janie and I got married was the end of 2008.
I mean, let's be honest. The year you guys met as well.
Well, we met in 2007. We started dating in 2008, so it was quick. But You and I started doing the podcast in January of 2008.
Yeah, not this podcast.
The Sidetrack
podcast.
Yeah. 2008 was just like a big year. And then film-wise, like The Dark Knight, Iron Man are two giant movies within our realm. Like, it'll be interesting to go back and look at how they affected movies going forward. I think The Dark Knight had maybe a negative effect in some ways to what DC ended up putting out for the next 15 to 20 years. It was the kickoff of Marvel. The MCU started with Iron Man, and for better or worse, for us, it's better because we're big comic book fans, and I loved everything for the most part that the MCU put out up through Endgame, and then it's been kind of hit or miss ever since. But that changed the movies. Like Iron Man, in 2008 changed film because it created a whole genre that took over the movie industry for the next, almost 20 years now.
Jeez. Yeah, need we be reminded.
So 2008 is an interesting year. I haven't looked at all of the stats for 2008. I figure we'll do that as we go through the movies that we cover throughout the year, as we get through like movies that might have more Oscar nominations or recognition, or maybe a bigger box office. The movie that we're going over today does have a little bit of accolades, a little bit, but it wasn't like a box office hit or anything like that. This one kind of slid under the radar and actually was your choice. So I don't know, what are your thoughts about 2008 as we jump into this, and then why you chose Defiance?
I mean, because I'm a big nerd, I feel like there are nerdy things like certain movies that they kind of, like when I think of a certain year, like one or two movies will come to mind, and that helps me almost contextualize when that year was, or like what I was up to during that time. And the two you've already mentioned, Dark Knight and Iron Man, are like the big ones. Like when I think of the year 2008, that's what comes to mind as far as movies are concerned. Because like you said, some other things happened that year. I mean, that's the year I started working at the comic book store where I still work. That was the year I got my first job after college, after having my back injury for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But as to this specific movie, I feel like it's a movie that at the time there's always those movies that like slip through the cracks, and at the end of the year I think like, oh, I want to catch up on this or that, because inevitably if it's not something that I like, I'm dying to see, if the year that it came out in ends, then all of a sudden it becomes like less of a priority, because now we're on to a new year and new movies, as illogical as that may sound. And I feel like this is one of those, which is curious because I didn't know exactly when this came out. I just knew that it was a quote unquote 2008 movie. And you just mentioned to me before we started recording that technically it got a limited release. Did you say December 31st?
December 31st, yep.
So it was out for one day of the year, and then it like technically released wide like the first or second week of January. So it was like almost impossible for me to catch up with this movie the year that it came out. But it's just like always been in the back of my mind as a movie like, oh yeah, I kind of wanted to see that. And mainly just because it had Daniel Craig in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know until, we set out to watch it if I knew that like Liev Schreiber or Jamie Bell were in it, for example. But yeah, then just, cruising over a list of movies that came out that year, it immediately jumped out at me as like, oh, well, this is finally an opportunity to, knock it off the old watch list. Because it's not something that I wanted to see so bad that I would have necessarily been like, okay, I need to track down a copy of that, or I got to look up where it's streaming or whatever. Yeah. So movies I missed to the rescue.
Yeah. So just quickly, the highest grossing movies of 2008, you could probably guess the number one and number two. I mean, we talked about them already. It's The Dark Knight and Iron Man.
Oh, I thought you were going to say The Incredible Hulk.
No, Incredible Hulk wasn't in the top 10.
What?
Was not
really?
in the top 10. Yeah.
Was there like a Harry Potter that year or something?
No. Can you guess what the number 3 is?
Geez.
It's Steven Spielberg picture.
Gosh, 2008? Was that like War Horse era, maybe? No, it's probably too early for that. I feel like this is too late for like Catch Me If You Can. I don't know. What was it?
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, number 3.
Really?
Yeah. Hancock was 4, Wall-E was 5.
Oh, God. Huh.
Yeah. Kung Fu Panda was 6. Twilight, which I've never seen and probably will never see, is number 7.
Oh, man. If we're not watching it for this show, then I don't think it's ever going to happen. So, like long distance digital handshake to you, my friend.
For sure. Madagascar 2, Quantum of Solace, another Daniel Craig movie, and then Horton Hears a Who rounded out these are the domestic top 10. So
wow. Incredible Hulk didn't even make the top 10.
Yeah, I guess it made less than 150 million. That can't be right. This is
if you're talking domestically, I could see it. But
yeah,
the MCU was just starting. It wasn't to the point where like every MCU movie was an enormous deal because everybody knew it was building on what came before.
Right. Yeah, box office 134 million domestically. So just outside the top 10. Couldn't crack the Twilight numbers or even the Horton Hears a Who numbers. Of those top 10, The Dark Knight, Iron Man, Indiana Jones, Hancock, Wall-E, Kung Fu Panda, Twilight, Madagascar, Quantum of Solace, and Horton Hears a Who. How many have you seen? That's 4 animated movies.
Yeah. Seen Dark Knight, seen Iron Man, seen Hancock, regrettably. Saw Indiana Jones, also sort of regrettably. Never seen Twilight, never seen Horton. I saw Wall-E, so that's like 5.
Yeah, Madagascar. Have you seen any of the Madagascar movies?
No.
Yeah, same here. And then Kung Fu Panda, you saw that, right?
Kung Fu Panda I've seen, so I guess 6.
Yeah. Well, Defiance didn't make the top 10. I don't even know who made the top 100. All right, so the movie is directed by Edward Zwick. How familiar are you with Edward Zwick?
That's like a name that I know is like that's a director. I just within like the last year rewatched Blood Diamond, and I feel like, inevitably if I watch a movie like that, I'll look up the director and like remind myself, oh yeah, he also did like Last Samurai, but then like couldn't have told you off the top of my head he did like Glory, which we watched for the Sidetrack podcast however many years ago. But yeah, it's like I hear his name and I think like, oh, he makes kind of stuffy, self-important, not necessarily bad, but like that's the kind of movies I think of.
They're like generically good, Oscar baity type movies is what they are.
Like good actors, because you get like your Leonardo DiCaprios and your Denzel Washingtons and your Tom Cruises, Daniel Craig's, and like interesting stories a lot of times based on like real events or Civil War and Glory, or Blood Diamond is based a lot in fact. And I don't know about, is Last Samurai one of those things where it's actually based on a true story, or it's like a fable or something like that?
I don't think it's a true story. Maybe it's based off of
based in history, if nothing else. And then like Pawn Sacrifice is like a biopic-ish true story. But he would never pop into my head if you were like, who makes the best movies or anything, but he's no slouch for sure.
You know what you're getting with him, right? Like it's just this like, they're well crafted, not super artistic, but safe for modern and like general audiences in a way that's like, how do we get people into the theater? You put a big star, you give them a competent director, and you do like these almost true stories and you Hollywoodize them a bunch to make them work more in a film. And I don't like those movies, especially as I get older. They're so like, I remember watching Blood Diamond. I haven't seen it in a while, but I feel like if I go back and watch it, it'd be like fine. But I don't know. Yeah.
I liked it on a rewatch. Again, I just watched it again maybe within the last 1 to 2 years, and coincidentally he also directed Courage Under Fire and The Siege, and both of those are movies that I watched for the first time within the last like I'd say 2 years, and neither of them like knocked my socks off, but they were both good, like kind of like we're talking about, generically good, like mainstream, like prestigious kind of feeling films. Weirdly,
they're going for the Oscar, but they're not memorable movies. You know what I mean? They're very Oscar baity, but they're not pressing into something new. It's tried and true, market tested. Is what it feels like to me. Like it would check all the boxes to make everyone happy, in the market test. And that kind of, maybe this sounds like an insult, and maybe it is, but I don't, they're fine. It's like fine, but I'm never going to be like, oh, I got to check out the new Edward Zwick movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's why, like, you know, it's like he makes like pretty well-known movies that you know about and or have seen, but you don't associate them with him. He's not like an auteur director,
Sure.
I don't think, but he makes movies that feel like they are part of an auteur filmography almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Like when you see all those names of those movies lined up against one another, you're like, okay, I see how that forms a grouping that could all come from one person. It's just I never paid attention to who the hell that person is.
Right. Yeah. The only other person I have on the crew listed is the composer, James Newton Howard. He's done a ton of scores. He did Batman Begins and The Dark Knight with Hans Zimmer, Pretty Woman, The Village, Sixth Sense. He did a bunch of movies with M. Night Shyamalan. I think 8 movies with him. And the only reason I name him, not because his score is that memorable, but he was the only one to receive accolades for this movie. We'll get to that when we get to the awards and stuff. So someone liked the music in this movie enough for it to get some nominations. Mm-hmm. As far as cast goes, we've got Daniel Craig. He's coming off of...
Well, you said this was the same year as 2008 was also Quantum of Solace, I think you said?
Yeah, so the way it worked is he filmed this in between... I'm sure this was completed before he did Quantum of Solace, because I want to say that they filmed it... He had to film it... He had to have it finished before he started filming the second James Bond, but he's coming off of Casino Royale, so he's got a little bit of clout. People are starting to know who he is. Casino Royale was huge, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I mean, Quantum of Solace was in the top 10, so it still did okay. This was also the year, I think 2008 and 2009 were the years coming off of the writer's strike. I want to say the writer's strike was in 2007. And so there was movies like Quantum of Solace, where the second half of that movie is not as strong as the first half. And it has a lot to do with like, they had to wait to film it, but they had to also finish it because it was a giant movie. But Daniel Craig is one of those guys where like I never saw Layer Cake. I think that was the biggest thing that he did before.
I'd say that's the thing that like got him notice before James Bond. That's probably the movie that got him James Bond, honestly.
But, you know, I've known him as James Bond. That's mainly how I view Daniel Craig. And then recently he's been doing all the Knives Out movies. He's got a new one coming out.
Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, which I loved him in. I think he's great in those movies, doing his Foghorn Leghorn impression. He really is good. And I think it showed that he had more range. Like I always saw him as James Bond, and he's good as James Bond. I really like him as James Bond. But his James Bond is so like stoic and has less personality than the past Bonds because, you know, they had to modernize Bond and make him like a superhero.
They had to make him Jason Bourne. Yeah.
And he's good. He's perfectly good as James Bond. But it's always interesting to see him in other roles and see like, yeah, he's actually a really good actor. So he's the lead of the movie. Liev Schreiber plays his brother. This is coming off of, when does Wolverine... X-Men Origins
Wolverine.
Yeah, when's that come out?
I mean, after X-Men 3, presumably, those movies were what, 99, 01, 04, something like that ish?
Okay, so Origins is the following year, 09.
Or 2000, 2002, 2004
or 5?
4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah. So he's been in a ton of things, but he was one of those guys that I didn't really know until he was put into a comic book movie, and then it's
your kind of discovery of him was Sabretooth?
Yeah, that was my first time actually recognizing him. I mean, it's shameful to say, but that's what, you know, superhero movies is what turned me into.
I don't think there's anything shameful about it. I don't know if I'd go that far. You don't need to self-flagellate yourself that bad.
But he's been in so many things, and what's funny is the thing that I know him now most from is the narrator for the HBO show, NFL show Hard Knocks, which he's been doing for years now. Like that probably pays more bills than anything. But he probably makes a ton of money.
He had a show there for a while on HBO or Showtime or something, like Ray Donovan or something like that.
Yeah. That
never watched it.
From 13 to 20, and then they did a Ray Donovan movie as well. So he's good.
For me, I first knew of him as Cotton Weary in the Scream movies. He's like really not in the first one, so I can't say I knew him from the first one. I think you see him momentarily on a television screen. He's like a character that the other characters talk about, but he's not really in the movie. And then they introduce him as a character like played by him, like with actual lines in the second one. So like, I feel like that's the first place I ever saw him. But then a movie that's near and dear to me and nobody else that he's in, and I love him in it, is Phantoms, as
He's
in
in Phantoms?
Affleck Udabom in. Yes.
I mean, I've seen it. I don't remember him in it at all, though. I mean, I saw that movie
there's
20-something years ago. I saw it after, when Jane and Silent Bob came out.
Yeah. There's 3 police officer characters in it. The main one is Ben Affleck. The second one is Liev Schreiber, who plays a real fucking weirdo. And the third one is Nicky Katt, who I'm also a fan of as a character actor. And yeah, I mean, the character Liev Schreiber plays in that movie, that film is kind of like shades of John Carpenter's The Thing, and his character becomes one of like the monsters, and he's like antagonistic, and he's just fucking weird. And he has like the button on the end of the movie. His character comes back in the end and says like his catchphrase from the film. And I've always liked that movie, even though nobody else does. So like that would be my big early hallmark for him, is Scream and Phantoms.
Yeah. I mean, his filmography is huge. He's been in a million things.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I do think he's not the lead in much of anything as far as movies are concerned. Like we were talking about, he's the lead in that Ray Donovan show. But I definitely personally think of him more as a character actor.
Yeah.
Which,
sure.
Character actors get work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great supporting actor. I really wanted him to be a good Sabretooth. Like, I feel like he could have been a really good Sabretooth too.
I mean, you can't fault anybody for what happened in that movie except for the writer, director, and like studio heads. Like, it's none of the actors' faults. No. I'm not blaming him at all. But I feel like, man, if they gave him the opportunity to be like an actual Sabretooth with oh yeah, he could have. I mean, over the last like couple of months, I decided to finally, I'd never read it before, read the entire Larry Hama run of Wolverine. And I'm like 40 something issues into it. Like Wolverine just lost his adamantium. Yeah. Is where I'm at right now. And Sabretooth is all over that book. And he could have been a really awesome Sabretooth if they'd fucking written Sabretooth like he is in the comics.
Yeah. Like he's got that viciousness to him. That
he's scary. He can be scary.
Yeah, totally. And I really wish he could have had that opportunity. I think it would have been really good. Jamie Bell is in this movie. I don't know him from much. He was in the movie Jumper, which was recently featured, I guess, when this comes out, in a few episodes back on Triple Threat Theater, which is a movie I really enjoyed.
The other Jumper.
Yeah, I liked him in that. He was in the Fantastic Four movie from 2015, playing The Thing, which was, again, not his fault, but it was just a mess. I'm sure he's been in a bunch of other stuff, but he's just another one of those guys. I don't know much of what he's doing nowadays.
He just feels like one of these guys who, I think he deserves better than he gets, because like he's in Jumper. That's not a movie that a lot of people, I think, really love or think back on fondly. I like that movie quite a bit. And I desperately wish that we got 1 or 2 sequels to it in that era of like, hey, Harry Potter and Twilight are a thing. Let's make everything into a franchise based off young adult books. But it just like it fizzles and never gets a sequel. And then there were like big plans where it was like, I think like Peter Jackson, Steven Spielberg, and like one other director, and they were going to make this trilogy of the like mocap Tintin movies. And Steven Spielberg, I think, did the first one, and that's the only one that happened. And Jamie Bell played Tintin. He was the voice, and he was like the mocap guy for Tintin. And it felt like that was going to be a huge deal. And then it just fizzled and never went anywhere. And then it's like, oh, he's been cast in the new reboot of the Fantastic Four. And then we all know what happened to that. It's just like, dude can't catch a break.
Yeah. Talented. Feels like he should be a huge star, but just, like you're saying, can't catch a break.
It's like, wrong place, wrong time or something. Yeah. But I like him generally. It's not like he's my favorite actor in the world, but
no, I mean, he's solid. He just puts in a good performance. Only a couple other names listed. I have Mia Wasikowski, and the only reason I had her listed, she plays Jamie Bell's like new wife in the movie, and I was like,
his forest wife. Did they call them?
Yep, his forest wife. The only reason I had her listed is I'm like, she's super recognizable. What do I know her from? And I looked, and she was Alice in Wonderland from the Tim Burton films.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the only other names that when I was looking at the cast, I was like, I know that name from somewhere.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those Alice in Wonderland films. My kids
count yourself
like
among
them.
the lucky.
So I'm surprised I haven't. I know Ella's watched a bunch of them. So yeah, I don't know. And then I do have one more name listed, and that's Mark Margolis. Did you notice him as the
of
Jewish
course. How
elder?
can you not? I mean, that dude, if you've seen Breaking Bad, you'll never forget that face.
Yeah. Hector Salamanca plays a Jewish elder. I don't know.
In one scene, right?
Yeah, in one scene. Did you know he was also in Scarface?
I may have known that somewhere in the back of my mind, but I mean, he's one of those guys. He's probably in 7 billion things.
That's the Breaking Bad way, or the Better Call Saul way, right? Like all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Hank is in a billion things I never would have known. He's in like Terminator 2 and Lethal Weapon 2, and Gus Fring, he's in 7 billion things.
Right.
Like one of my favorite like comedies that nobody remembers is Nothing to Lose with Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I've seen that movie, I'm going to say 20 times over the course of my life. And it wasn't until the last time I watched it last year that I realized one of the 4 main characters is Gus Fring. Like
hilarious.
It's kind of like when we talked about Desperately Seeking Susan, and like I'm staring him in the face and I didn't recognize him in the movie.
Yeah. But Hector Salamanca, you can't help but recognize him. It's totally him. And he was great in Breaking Bad, but the stuff that he got to do on Better Call Saul was even better. It really expanded his character and stuff. So
when exactly, do you know the years off the top of your head Breaking Bad was on? It was probably not long after this or around this time, right?
Breaking Bad was like 2000. Gosh, Breaking Bad was early. It was 09 to 11. So yeah, like right after this, he was on Breaking Bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, he looks basically exactly the same as he does in that show, except he's not
right
in a wheelchair.
He's not in a
Although I
wheelchair.
don't think he stands up in his entire scene. So
no, that's true. He didn't have many lines in Breaking Bad because of his condition.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Better Call Saul where he actually had, got to flesh out Hector a lot more. But gosh, I love that show. All right, let's talk a little bit about the story here. Defiance. So it's based on a true story, and it says that right at the beginning. It doesn't even say based on. It just says this is a true story about these brothers, the Belsky brothers, I think is how you say it.
There's a lot of names and words for locations and things that we're probably going to fuck up here.
Totally.
I mean, I was watching the movie thinking to myself, okay, I have to remember how to pronounce these names. Because in the movie they say them like
so fast.
500 times. And I'm like, all right, so is it Tuvia, I think?
Yeah.
Is
Tuvia.
And I know that Liev Schreiber is Zeus.
Yeah.
Although I think they pronounce it Zoosh. And at one point, Daniel Craig calls him Zushka, but
yeah. So,
but then like Jamie Bell's character, I'm looking at the spelling here, and I'm like, I don't know.
I don't even know. That's why I said even Mia Wazowski. I was like, I'm just going to say her name. That's already difficult enough. I'm not going to try to pronounce.
I know that one is Mia Wasikowska is how you pronounce her name.
So I'm even saying it wrong. But looking at her character name, I'm like not even going to touch that.
Cool. Yeah, a Z doesn't usually come after a D.
Yeah. So. We'll just watch the movie. Anyways, what's your initial impressions of the movie? What was your initial thoughts?
It's bleak. It gets going right off the bat. I mean, the movie opens on so it's the Nazi occupation of Belarus that the movie focuses on. And I mean, you open on Nazis rounding up Jews, and then Jamie Bell and Liev Schreiber are like watching from the tree line, and then they go home and discover that their parents are dead and their younger brother is still alive because he was hiding. So the 3 of them walk off and they come across Daniel Craig in the woods. All of a sudden, the 4 brothers are reunited, and we're 4 minutes into the runtime.
Yeah.
And then it's just like they can't help themselves but constantly have other Jews like thrust upon them that they either run into in the woods or they sneak to somebody's farm to try and get supplies, and then whoever they see is like, I got a bunch of Jews hiding in the barn. You have to take them with you or they're going to be found. And it's just like a bunch of people completely unprepared to live in the elements being forced to live in unwelcoming forest. And it's just rarely happy. I mean, it is about the Holocaust, so that's not terribly surprising. But yeah, I mean, it's 2 hours and 17 minutes of pretty heavy material. And even like our heroes who we want to back and root for, I mean, they do a good job of being like, whether or not they are going about it the right way, they're trying to do the right thing. But you may not always like them for it. And I think that that's done very well. It's like, I can't say I had the most fun watching this movie, but I thought it was really well done.
I mean, I would never expect you to say that it was like a good time, like a fun, good time. Like, I really enjoyed this Holocaust movie.
I mean, there's ways to do it, like
Inglourious Bastards, maybe?
Inglourious Bastards, yeah.
But it's not like a...
It's not exactly that. I mean, there is an element of like the fighting back, and Daniel Craig early on in the movie gets revenge on the man who was responsible for killing his parents, and that's like a brief moment of release, and then Liev Schreiber's character ends up abandoning his brothers to go fight with the Soviets. And, you know, there's a couple like scenes of action here or there, but that's not really the focus of the movie. Like, it's obviously a part of the story, so they're going to go there, but a lot of it is just the suffering. And it's something that... you know, you watch a movie and, you know, it looked like the conditions sucked, but I have to imagine the reality of it would have been so much worse.
Yeah,
like
100%.
I may have mentioned it on this show before, but there's a podcast I listen to called The Dollop, where a couple of comedians, they tell like true stories of usually American history. And just hearing some of the tales that they tell about like expeditions or people who get trapped in like bad weather, like in the snow back in like even further back than the 1940s, but even more recent than the 1940s. And just to think like we have all this technology and stuff now that we feel like maybe protects us or makes us more well equipped for certain things. But just imagining what it would have been like to be in that forest, in that not very temperate climate, with just the clothes on your back and only those clothes. So like you're wearing the same clothes all the time, and just imagining how fucking horrible it would have been. Like I said, I'm sure the reality of it was so much worse.
Sure.
But even so, I feel like they do a pretty good job of getting across like, boy, especially during the winter, this was not a place you wanted to be. And I feel like it sets a good tone for everything that's going on without it just being like, oh, we're watching Nazis murder Jews constantly throughout the runtime, you know?
I was just thinking, like, if I was in that line when they're like trying to figure out what everyone does and what they can contribute, and if I was in that line, like this fat guy, like I can design stuff on my computer. You know what I mean? Like, if it was,
I can entertain the children by telling them the plots to every Zelda game in chronological order.
Yeah. It's like I contribute nothing. I'd be dead.
Well, I mean, there were characters in the movie like that. There was the intellectual.
Yeah. I just feel like we're going to be on a different level with this movie because I don't think this movie is very good. I think it's a story that's worth being told. I think it's a really interesting story. I don't like the way it's told.
Okay.
Tell me about it. I just feel like it's too Hollywoodized. Like, I feel like, especially, you know, after going out, like, did they really fight this much? Were they like constantly battling with the Germans and things like that? Because it happens quite a few times. And like all of that stuff is fictionalized, which is fine. Like,
are you talking about the Soviet group that Liev Schreiber's with, or
no?
Because I feel like they didn't. What did they call them? It's in the title of the book, isn't it? The the Bielski
Partisans?
Whatever they called them.
Yeah.
The group that Daniel Craig is in charge of, it didn't feel to me like they were constantly going out and fighting. It felt like they were more hiding and sending people out to scout and get supplies and stuff. And I mean, Daniel Craig early in the movie goes to get his little bit of revenge. And then, I mean, there's not really any other action with that group as far as the Germans are concerned. There's like the final Nazi action that they bring back. Well, sure, that final action, but that's because they were being attacked and pursued. It's like they were living in the forest, and I think the Nazis knew they were there because the Russian or the Soviets weren't that far away either. So whether they were looking for the Soviet group or they were looking for the group Daniel Craig was with, I mean, if nothing else, they must have known that, they were going out and getting supplies and help from like the local farms. Like they knew they were there. So it played to me. And again, I don't know if it's historically accurate, but it makes sense to me that they're just waiting for the winter to end so that they can go and just like hunt these people down and fucking obliterate them.
Sure. I think it's, again, I don't think it's necessarily the story itself that bothers me. It's the way that it was told. And I feel like there's times where there's no transition between scenes or things that would happen. Like, for example, when Daniel Craig kills the guy that's in their camp that's kind of like revolting, and then it cuts and he's been asleep for 2 days. There's just this like weird disconnect. And I feel like that happens throughout the movie where it's like there's a scene and then all of a sudden they're on top of a building and they're rushing in to go get medical supplies or something like that. And I don't know. There was like a disconnect between everything happens so fast. Like you mentioned in the beginning, like the first 4 minutes, there's like all this, like all these things that happens and there's like almost no time to like process or be in it as much. And I feel like the way they do that is with like Hollywood stereotype characters, like the teacher who's now going to be like the priest, or the intellectual who's now going to be.
All right. I got to jump in here because I disagree generally with what you're saying, but the most just like bullshit Hollywood writer nonsense was those two characters, the intellectual and the religious guy, who they would just cut to them every now and then to have the most surface level debates about politics and religion and whatnot. I'll agree. Those characters were incredibly poorly written.
Like I really like Daniel Craig. I really like Liev Schreiber. Whenever those two were on camera, and especially the interactions between the two of them and the differences that they had, I think was the strength of the movie. I feel like that stuff was really good. But then it was like, I felt like a little bit of like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves vibes with the stuff that's going on in the forest, which, this is a real story. Like they're the people that had to survive in this horrid situation. And it just felt too Hollywoodized for me with those like cookie cut characters. Even the villain of the group who Daniel Craig ends up having to kill. He's just so blatantly over the top villainous in a way that just felt like a cartoon in a very serious movie. Daniel Craig's playing it well and playing it straight. And I understand his motivations and the things that he does, but it was like the characters and the world around them felt too Hollywood screenwriter written in a way that just kind of ruined it for me.
I almost feel like the only solution to the problems that you seem to have with it is if it was an 8-part miniseries instead of a 2-hour movie. Because, I mean, if your complaint is that, like, the guy who tries to take over leadership from Daniel Craig is not a very well-drawn character, the movie's already 2 hours and 17 minutes, and there's a lot of characters. And, I mean, how much time did we really want to spend on that guy's, like, slow rise to, wanting to take on Daniel Craig?
Like, I don't know if that's a true aspect of the story. It felt like a Hollywood version of the story. You know what I mean? Like they're already going through
I think
so
that it
much.
serves.
They're going through so much.
I think it serves a purpose in that it's that turning point for Daniel Craig's character, like I was talking about earlier. Like if he didn't have that moment where he makes that questionable decision and freaks the fuck out of everybody in doing it, I almost feel like he's a little more one-dimensional of a character. Like giving him that problem that he has to solve. It's like he's the leader. He has to make the hard decisions. And I mean, we see him make plenty of them throughout the movie, but I feel like that, I guess on one hand, I can't argue with you saying it's like a Hollywood thing, but it's like without having way more time to devote to that aspect of his character, it's like that character of the dude who rose up, he kind of serves his purpose as like mainlining us to, well, now we see how fucked up he has to be to lead these people.
I think if you're going to do it, I think there's better ways to write it. I'm not saying I could come up with a better way, but to me, it was just trying too hard to be like the things that we were talking about with Edward Zwick in his other movies, where it just feels like it's trying to overly dramatize in a Hollywood way, not in a very realistic way, problems that could arise. Like him having to kill someone in the camp, I think could be done in a way that is like super interesting, in a way that furthers his character. That didn't feel that way, along with those other characters that were just the intellectual and the religious. You know what I mean? Like the characters just felt so wooden to me. And maybe it's not fair. I'm not saying the actors are bad. I'm just saying the way it was written and played out. It kept me from really like entering this world and being a part of it. And so like whenever it did go away from Daniel Craig, whenever it did go away from Leo Schreiber, it did, I don't know, it felt false to me.
I mean, I don't feel like it often is away from those characters, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you get little cutaways here and there with, like, Jamie Bell or whoever, but I feel like the vast majority of the time we're with Daniel Craig, and then a little bit of the time we're with Liev Schreiber. But, yeah, I would say... to a degree, I can see where you're coming from, but that was never a thought that crossed my mind. Aside from those two, the intellectual, like those scenes just felt like they felt like they were written by a different person or crammed in by like a studio exec last minute or something. Like those stupid surface level, like dumb debates that they were having. Outside of those two characters, though, I never had the problems that you're describing. That never crossed my mind or was an issue for me personally.
I also thought the film was pretty ugly, and I think not because of the locale or whatever, but I just the direction and the cinematography I feel like was pretty bland. And there was one scene in particular when they went to the police station to get the penicillin or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's the action sequence there. Why was it shot the way it was shot? Where it was like
I guarantee it wasn't shot that way. That was like a post-process thing they decided to do. I don't know if it's for dramatic effect or if it's because that was the one like well-lit, like bloody action sequence and they were like, well, we need to temper this or something. I don't know why they made that decision.
It was so ugly though. Like
I never liked that look. There's a lot of movies. I feel like that was a trend in movies in like the early 2000s. And a lot of movies did. I don't even know what to call it. Yeah, but it's like
I don't know either. It's like this weird slow-mo where everything is like, it's not slow motion, but it's like
it's kind of choppy and blurry.
Yeah. Everything's like super blurred and it's like there's less frames. So it feels, I don't know what it is. It was just like, what is going on? This could be like the most interesting action beat of the entire movie. And it's like unwatchable with what they did.
I'll agree that I didn't like the way that looked. For the most part, I'm not going to say that the movie looks incredible or anything, but it's like while I was watching it again, I was never thinking like, oh, I wish this was more gorgeous like The Revenant or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's shitty conditions in largely shitty weather. So it's kind of drab.
But I've seen plenty of drab movies that are well shot and have great cinematography. And this one just felt a little bland to me. I just could never, like, I'm not saying I want a fun time because this is a Holocaust movie, but I feel like I want some artistic styling to it or something. Like I needed something, and it was just so bland in a way that was just kind of a turnoff to where I was like, I'm not invested as much as I should be because of its blandness.
You couldn't snazz up these people suffering a little bit more for Jesse?
Yeah. I mean, we're making a movie, right? Like, I'm not saying, I don't even know exactly what I'm saying, but it just felt a little bit too bland in a way that's not interesting. I've seen bland and interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it can be done, and maybe Edward Zwick is just not the guy to do it.
Maybe. I would say my biggest criticism of like the form or the plot of the story is I don't know if I love where it ended.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's like it brings a culmination to the story arc of the relationship between Daniel Craig's character and Liev Schreiber's character a little bit.
But again, the ending also is super Hollywoodized in a way that's like, I get that they're in the forest and they got to run, but then they run into a trap. And of course, here comes Liev Schreiber and they save the day. I don't know. That just felt a little too much for me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm just like making excuses for the movie, but I mean, it is the big action packed ending. So like, while yes, it feels like been there, done that. I'm not hating on it too much. More so for me, it was just like, you know, this takes place in 41 or 42, I think. And the postscript at the end of the movie, I think it says like they survived in the forest for like 2 more years or something. And then it gives you the little like what happened to everybody after the war. And to just like to end it with this like minor victory where the brothers come back together and then it's just like cut to black. And it's not like I wanted to see like, we write in this bit where Tuvia, he goes and he's like there for like the final battle of the war or something like that. Like nothing like that, but just it feels like there's a lot more story to be told. And like they give, I forget exactly what number, but they say like, when it like, there ended up at one point being like 1,200 Jews in their group hiding in the forest together. Like, I almost wanted to see more of that like expansion. And if it was as bad as it is with just like 100 or 200 people, how fucking hard would it be with that many? You know,
I want to see a more character driven and less action packed movie. Like, I feel like the action doesn't fit with the story that's being told. And there's not a ton of action, but I feel like the characters, like the ending just kind of like really soured me with like them going up against a bunch of Germans in a tank and things like that. It felt, I don't know, it just kind of took me out of the movie as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, I never really had that problem that seemed to have plagued you for the duration of the runtime. But
yeah,
again, it's like, it's, you know, it's a Hollywood movie and it's ending, and story-wise, it made sense to me that they were being, you know, flooded by Nazis coming to wipe out their little encampment. So I'm sure that they didn't face a fucking tank in a clearing like that in real life.
No, but we'll get to it. They did not face any tanks in real life. No, that stuff never happened. And another complaint I have is the romance feels so thrown in a way that just almost like undercuts real emotion in this. It's like everyone just kind of sees. Is there a
specific romance you're talking about? Or?
Like, I think Daniel Craig's really is like.
Well, that was like real. Didn't they touch on that in the postscript as well? That like him and her stayed together, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I don't know. It's part of what really happened.
Sure. It just felt so thrown in there. Like, I don't know. Like, I just felt like it none of it felt real to me. Like, it just felt like, here's Daniel Craig with his sharp blue eyes, and there's the sexy young lady, and he don't forget the fact that he just lost his wife. Like, they literally just talked about it, and I don't know. It just felt. I'm
incredibly curious to see what exactly the movie you wanted this to be would have been.
Yeah.
You don't want romance. You don't want action.
I want more natural. I guess I just want something that felt a little bit more natural. And it felt like very like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in a way that's not what I want from a true story about Jews surviving in the forest. I feel like I mean, they were fighting back against Nazis in the middle of a war, and he did meet the woman he would go on to marry in real life. Like, you're saying, like, you want something more realistic, but these things, at least to a degree, did really happen. The problem isn't what happens, it's the way that it's done. That's my problem. Like, I would have liked, like, the true life romance between them, I feel like could have been fleshed out in a way that wasn't like boy meets girl, and he glances at her and she glances at him, and next thing you know, they're like hooking up. Like,
Could it have been done in the framework of this film without it being 4.5 hours long? Like I said earlier, it almost feels like, and to a degree, I agree, because like I said, there's like more story to be told. It feels like this story potentially would have been better served by being like a miniseries event or something. But
maybe.
within like taking this and turning it into a movie, I don't have the problems with
I just feel like
the
it
things that happen in
better.
movies that you seem to dislike.
I feel like it could just have been done better by someone better. To me, it just wasn't done well. Like
so you just hate Ed Zwick and you're taking it out on Defiance.
Yeah. I'm not based off of anything other than what he's done. Like I saw The Last Samurai 20 years ago. Again, I saw Blood Diamond forever ago. We watched Glory a few years ago. I have no skin in the game as far as Edward Zwick goes because he's super forgettable. I'm just saying,
maybe you need to watch some of his movies more frequently than 20 years apart and get a little skin in that game, baby.
Maybe if they were better, I will.
Like I said, I just rewatched Blood Diamond like a year or two ago, and I liked it.
Yeah, I remember liking Blood Diamond.
So I got to hit on Zwick, baby.
I'm just not going to excuse it. I'm not just going to be like, I'll take shitty writing and Hollywood style plotting to, I don't know. I just feel like this story deserved better, and I just wasn't super into it.
I was satisfied.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about the box office. The budget was $32 million. It ended up grossing $51.2 million worldwide. It debuted in 2 theaters on December 31st and grossed 200,000 in 28th place. It opened wide January 16th in 1,800 theaters and grossed $8.9 million in 8th place.
I do hate that studios do that shit.
Yeah, totally.
It's so dumb to me.
Like, for example, just recently, that movie with The Brutalist, like it was on everyone's lists for the end of the year. And I was like, I got to see it. It wasn't available until the following year. And so now it's like...
Well, you just have to become a member of the Academy, and then you'll get sent screeners, and you don't have to worry about when it gets released in theaters.
Okay, so it opened by January 16th in 1,800 theaters, grossed $8.9 million in 8th place, behind films also opening this weekend. Paul Blart Mall Cop in first place with $31 million. My Bloody Valentine in 3rd place with $21 million. Notorious in 4th place with $20 million, and Hotel for Dogs in 5th for $17 million. What a weekend, right?
That's something.
It stayed wide until the beginning of February and finished its U.S. theatrical run in the end of April, grossing $28.6 million domestically. So it didn't hit its budget in the U.S., but ended up just eking out 51 worldwide. So
I don't know what it would have had to go up against, but it honestly feels like a movie that would have been better off if they had released it like late November or December instead of like 2 weeks into the new year. Releasing
it on the 31st of December feels like we're trying to get it in before the Oscars, but we don't really have a budget to like sell it. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
As far as reviews go, it's got 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's like right in the in between where it's not rotten, it's not fresh. It has
isn't it like 60% or is it flat 50 between?
I can't remember. I thought that was in the middle, but I could be wrong.
For some reason I thought it was like 60 and above is fresh, but I may be wrong. I barely ever look at that website.
Yeah. I should have checked. I thought it was like in between. So
it could just be 50. I don't know.
Rotten means the movie received less than 60% of critics. So I guess it is rotten.
So it's technically rotten. Oh, yep. Rough.
It has 59 fans on Letterboxd. That means 59 people on Letterboxd have it in their
top 4.
Top 4.
Yeah.
It's got a 3.4 rating on 45,000 ratings on Letterboxd as well. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave it 2.5 out of 4 stars. He said, "The story of Defiance has all the makings of a deep emotional experience, but I found myself oddly detached. Perhaps that's because most of the action and principal characters are within the group. The Nazis are seen in large part as an ominous threat, out there somewhere in the forest, like those we don't speak of in M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. Do I require a major Nazi speaking part for the film to work? No, but the drama tends to focus on issues, conflicts, and romances within the group, and in that sense could be a very good reality show, but lacks the larger dimension of, say, Schindler's List. Almost
sounds like Roger isn't crazy about it like you, but for the opposite reasons as you. He wanted it to be more of like a typical war Nazi movie.
Yeah. Let's see. Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle gave it 2 out of 4 stars. It's difficult, perhaps impossible, to make a gripping 137-minute epic about people standing around under the trees. It's like a pretty oversimplification.
I feel like that's a guy who would also say that the Lord of the Rings trilogy is boring because it's just people walking.
Yeah. There's definitely stuff that happens within, the forest. I think I don't think that's a fair assessment of the movie.
Agreed.
Ty Burr of the Boston Globe gave it 2 out of 4 stars. What the Belsky brothers did in the forests of Belarus deserves to be remembered and celebrated, but its glossy studio production robs them of life. It's not just new Holocaust stories that we need, but new ways of telling them.
Like an 8-part miniseries.
Exactly. Just waiting for streaming. Carrie Rickey of the Philadelphia Inquirer gave it 3 out of 4 stars and said, Defiance is a wobbly stool, a seat propped up by the uneven legs of ethics debate, Holocaust movie, and action thriller. Still, the fascination and novelty of Nazi killing Jews who don't perish in the death camps packs quite the wallop. I think that's kind of fair.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Leonard Maltin, our boy Leonard Maltin, gave it 2.5 stars and said, after the Gestapo and its Russian surrogates have swept through their village in Belarus in 1941, the 3 Belsky brothers head for the nearby woods and soon find themselves leading a growing band of Jewish refugees. Survival is the key, but so is leadership, and the 2 older brothers have opposing points of view about how to deal with the enemy. Overlong and uneven, this is a great untold story of World War II, but not, alas, a great film. Yeah.
All right, Len.
I think I'm with a lot of these reviews. I feel like they said it maybe even better than the way I said it. Just uneven, I think, is a good way for me to put it.
I'll be honest, your review could have used more metaphors about wobbly stools.
Sure. I'll work that into the future reviews.
Thanks. I'd appreciate it.
Awards nominated for Best Score at the Oscars and the Golden Globes, losing both to Slumdog Millionaire. This kind of was the year of Slumdog Millionaire at the award shows.
Yeah. Man, that's a movie. I saw it the year that it came out, and I was like bowled over by it and thought it was so good. I've owned it on Blu-ray forever. I have never rewatched that movie. I feel like nobody talks about that film. I feel like that's a movie that like came, swept everybody by surprise, and then just like fell off the face of the fucking earth.
It was huge. It was budgeted $15 million, box office $378 million. It won nominated for 10 Academy Awards. It won 8, including Best Picture, Director, Adapted Screenplay, directed by Danny Boyle. I think it was like the introduction of Dev Patel, who's gone on to do a lot of really good stuff. So,
man, remind me when we get to the year in review episode at the end of this season that I got to give that one a rewatch before we do our top 10.
For sure.
That'd be a perfect excuse to watch it again because, I have not seen it since the theater.
Yeah, I remember really enjoying it. I remember it being a really good movie. As far as notes and impact, we've got some stuff. There's not a lot of information on this movie just because, it didn't make any money. It didn't get well reviewed, and it's kind of come and gone. Production began in early September of 2007. Daniel Craig could complete filming the movie time for reprising his role as James Bond in Quantum of Solace. Nekma Tech, whose book the film is based, stated in an interview that she was initially shocked by the film, especially by the intense battle scenes, including combat with a German tank. These never occurred in reality as the partisans tried to avoid open combat and were focused on survival. She did go on to say that she did enjoy the movie, though. And then there's this movie in Europe, in the countries that it was from, has a lot of people divided on it because of inaccuracies or the way that things are displayed. An argument was made, I'll just read this, was made that in reality, the Belskys were less egalitarian than suggested by the film. And the fighters had the first pick among women for sexual partners. Zwick, the director, responded to the criticism by saying that Defiance is not a simple fight between good and evil. The Bielskis weren't saints. They were flawed heroes, which is what makes them so real and so fascinating. They faced any number of difficult moral dilemmas that the movie seeks to dramatize. Does one have to become a monster to fight monsters? Does one have to sacrifice his humanity to save humanity? So,
I mean, I agree with those final statements. At least that's kind of what I was trying to get across about the whole, you know, they're the heroes, but not necessarily everything they do seems that heroic, despite the fact that they may think that they need to do it. The specific thing about we already joked about it a little bit, the whole forest wives thing. Mm-hmm. I'd be curious to know what the reality of that was, but I can imagine that, again, it's like such a miserable existence that, like, finding someone to share that with and like take a little bit of the burden of like solitude off of yourself, I can understand it. Mm-hmm. But the whole like fighters have the first pick of sexual partners, was that? I don't remember that.
No, that wasn't in the movie. They're saying that's how it really was.
Okay.
Not they couldn't.
Well,
have done
in that case,
I
can understand why they don't do that in the movie. I mean, Daniel Craig's character is full on against the guy who's like, you know, the ones who risk their lives get the better food or whatever. Mm-hmm. And once you really get to the like, okay, women are just things because the men are out fighting, then it's like even harder to like your quote unquote heroes. So
yeah, for sure. Like you can have them cross lines like killing his own men. But the guy who's like a villain, you know, he's like taking from other people because he thought he was better than them. Like that's what I'm saying. Where it's like a little bit easier to like
fight a tank.
No, it's easier of a decision to like for him to have to kill someone that's like an asshole already, right? Like I don't know, like make it a little bit more complicated. I don't know. But that's all I'm saying. So I don't know. I don't think the movie's terrible. I think the performances are really good. And for the most part, I think the main two that we're talking about, Liev and Daniel Craig are really good. But I didn't think it was funny. He's like, no children. And then he's like getting down with his lady. It's like, how do you stop? Like, I don't know. That was weird. Also,
pull out game strong with Daniel Craig.
I guess so.
I mean, they did condoms did exist long before that. So
in the forest, I mean, they barely had.
They could have probably used, when they killed that horse to eat it, they probably could have saved the intestines. I don't think they were making sausages out of them.
That's what they were doing?
Right. Yeah. It's not that they're starving. He's like, oh, everybody really wants to fuck. I'm sorry, horse. He gives it one last pat, pulls out the gun. We need your small intestine.
Man. All right. Let's get to it. Did you miss the movie, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going to say I did. Not my favorite movie in the world, but I enjoyed it more than I maybe expected to for how forgotten it seems to be. And, like I said, I had the faintest of like yearnings to see it from like seeing the trailers and all back when it came out. And I thought that the story was interesting, however it was told. Like it's just another true story about people, surviving through harsh circumstances and persecution that I wasn't familiar with. So however Hollywoodized the movie is, I probably never would have heard this story or known who the Bielski brothers were if it wasn't for old Eddie Zwick and his polished Hollywood film. So I missed it. I'm
going to say no. I'm going to take a term from Triple Threat Theater. I ain't tossing this in the sun.
That's copyrighted.
Sorry.
Joe Daxberger, 0.03% of the profits and proceeds from this episode.
Damn it. There's things that I did enjoy about the movie. I don't think it's terrible. I could have lived without seeing this movie, though. I think reading the story, maybe reading the book might have been better, but
we'll save that for books I missed.
All
our next podcast after we're done with this one.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Remember that time we were doing Sidetracked and we used to do like featured movie reviews and we'd read comics and talk about them? Remember that time you wanted us to read The Hobbit? And then it never happened?
Yeah.
I went out and I bought a copy of The Hobbit and then we never read it.
Well, that we can add it to the new podcast, Year to Year, Books I Missed.
Books I missed.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Movies I Missed. We're back, 2008. So we've got lots of stuff to talk about, including Heath Ledger, Robert Downey Jr. I feel like they're going to be brought up every episode.
I can almost guarantee it.
Yep. Next episode, we will be talking about the film In Bruges. So come back for that. Did we miss In Bruges? Ryan didn't. He'd already seen it. So
yes,
it's going to be a question for me. So join us next week as we talk about that. Until then, I'm Jesse Munoz.
Ryan Miller.
See you next week for In Bruges.